Raised in McMinnville, Colin Armstrong can trace his interest in aviation to flights around the block in an airplane pedal car that his parents gave him the year after Lindbergh flew the Atlantic. In middle school, he built model airplanes, and then after learning to work sheet metal in high school, he went to work for Boeing as a fabricator on B-17s. But his real interest was in being a naval aviator, so he went to Oregon State University to get a degree and was accepted for flight training in 1943. Commissioned as an ensign in September 1945, Armstrong was afraid that he wouldn't get to fly much since the Second World War had just ended. He needn't have worried, as he was assigned to an attack squadron flying SB-2C Helldivers from Los Alamitos, where he accumulated a lot of flying time in many different aircraft as a ferry pilot. Transferred to the reserves in 1947, he came back home to Oregon, and after looking at purchasing a surplus S&J trainer, he decided instead to spend his money on an engagement ring. Colin and his wife Millie were married in December 1947, after which he went on to complete his degree and graduate from Linfield College. Called back to active duty in 1951, Armstrong was sent to Air Control School, Naval Justice School, and Naval Postgraduate School to study meteorology and oceanography, before finally being assigned to Amphibious Command Group staff. He would spend the next 2 years in the Arctic, supporting the work to build the dew line with weather forecasting and briefings. Returning to the aviation community, he flew Douglas Skyraiders with VA-155 off the USS Hancock, and while deployed to the Western Pacific in 1957-58, he participated in several memorable events, including a 14-hour flight to launch a new practice nuclear rocket bomb, and flying missions during the Komoe-Matsu crisis, when the Communist Chinese threatened to invade the nationalist-held islands. Armstrong was next posted to the Pacific Missile Range for several years, where he flew the S-2 Tracker, both for the forecasting of weather and to clear ships and aircraft out of the launch area. He then went on to tours of duty as a staff meteorologist on the USS Yorktown, as the Operations and Executive Officer of Fleet Weather Central at Pearl Harbor, and back to sea on a cruiser to perform operational weather forecasting for the 7th Fleet off Vietnam. He completed his naval career as the Assistant Commander for Operations of the Naval Weather Service Command before retiring in 1972. Returning to McMinnville, Armstrong served for 8 years as a Yamhill County Commissioner and was appointed to the McMinnville Airport Commission, which he served on until 2011. Motivated by his desire to serve, he became a volunteer at the Evergreen Aviation and Space Museum in the summer of 1999 and has been a volunteer day captain, served on the museum's board of trustees, and participated in the Oregon Hall of Honor Selection Committee for 10 years. Colin Armstrong and his wife Millie continue to live in his boyhood home of McMinnville, Oregon.